making it to Visit Maldives Corporation Limited. Newmat Shafiq, the child rights ombudsperson. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Dham Naim. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz renames the Maldives Marketing and Public Relations Corporation Limited to Visit Maldives Corporation Limited. This change was formalized on Sunday through a presidential decree. The company was established to support the government's efforts to expand and diversify the tourism sector. Its core role is to promote the country as a world-class tourist destination. These efforts are delivered through focused, continuous and sustainable marketing initiatives. While the President has officially changed MMPRC's name to Visit Maldives Corporation Limited, the corporation has long used the Visit Maldives branding at international tourism-related events. The government submits a sweeping trademark bill to Parliament seeking to reinforce the country's intellectual property regime while advancing the interests of domestic producers and artists. The draft legislation introduced by Madhuvari lawmaker Ahmed Zahir on behalf of the administration outlines a system for formalizing trademark registration, clarifying ownership rights, and establishing firm legal mechanisms to combat infringement and counterfeiting. Under the proposal, a trademark is defined as any sign that distinguishes the goods or services of one entity from another. Exclusive rights would be granted only upon official registration, enabling holders to block unauthorized commercial use of similar or identical marks, particularly in case where such use could cause confusion over the origin of a product or service. The bill also outlines conditions under which these protections would not apply. Legal remedies for infringement constitutes a key provision of the legislation, empowering courts to issue interim orders that either halt violations or secure relevant evidence. In cases where delays could cause lasting harm, judges may issue injunctions without prior notice to the alleged offender. Where infringement is found, the court could award compensation and order reimbursement of expenses incurred in enforcing rights. The bill addressed counterfeiting in explicit terms, prohibiting the manufacture, import, sale, and export of goods bearing unauthorized reproductions of registered trademarks. Financial penalties range from $6,484.52 to $129,690.34. Registrations granted under the new framework would remain valid for 10 years, with the option for renewable in successive 10-year terms. To facilitate a seamless transition, the bill offers a 12-month grace period for holders of existing trademarks to register. Those failing to do so within the time frame would see their trademarks revoked. Implementation is scheduled for 12 months following the bill's ratification. The Parliament weighs a proposal to extend the tenure of Newmat Shafiq, the child rights ombudsperson, following a formal recommendation from President Dr. Mohamed Muiz. The measure has been submitted for legislative review and referred to the Committee on Human Rights and Gender. Lawmakers on the committee are expected to evaluate the proposal in the coming days, a process that will determine whether Newmat remains in office. Appointed on 23 July 2020, Newmat received parliamentary approval for an initial 5-year term. The tenure is set to conclude on 23 July. The President's proposal outlined a second 5-year term, citing the office's significance in the protection of children's rights and welfare throughout the Maldives. Created under the Child Rights Protection Act, the Ombudsperson's Office has broad oversight responsibilities spanning government and civil institutions. Its mandate includes monitoring the implementation of domestic child rights legislation while also ensuring alignment with international protocols. Among those international obligations in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Children, a key framework that guides the Ombudsperson's work. The office is authorized to evaluate government performance against both national and UN standards and to act when discrepancies are found. The scope of the role also includes the review of actions taken by individuals and organizations entrusted with child protection. The Ombudsperson retains investigatory powers, allowing for independent assessment of compliance and conduct. Remuneration of the position has been set by Parliament at $2,269.05, comprising a base salary of $1,620.63 and a supplementary allowance of $648.25. Nominations for the Maldives Media Council MMC's Journalism Award opens. The opportunity to submit nominations for this year's Journalism Awards is open until 1 p.m. on 31st July. Awards will be given in 14 categories in two main categories, the newspaper and magazine category and audio and video journalism category. The Media Council said the aim of the Journalism Awards include encouraging Maldivian journalists, recognizing their contribution and promoting ethical journalism as well as improving the quality of their products. The Media Council annually awards prizes to winners in various fields of journalism. As in previous years, the awards will be given for the work produced last year. The MMC has been awarding the Journalism Award every year since 2014. The Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation announces that four-wheeled vehicles can only be imported into the Maldives under a special permit effective from 13th July. The Transport Ministry has amended the existing regulations on four-wheeler imports and has now implemented the changes. Hamad Salim, the political director of the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation, told PSM News that the ministry previously issued import permit for vehicles. He noted, however, the issuance of the permit had been suspended for the past 5 years due to various reasons. However, permit issuance has now resumed with a new system that ensures that there is a dedicated garage for imported four-wheelers. Hamad said that previously the ministry did not verify whether the vehicle could be parked in the designated garages with issuing permits. However, with the new change, the ministry will inspect whether the designated location, such as a garage or private land, is suitable for parking the vehicle. He noted the permit will only be issued after verification. He added, with this change, dedicated parking spaces, road safety will be ensured. Hamad said that the permit will be issued to applicants within 5 working days if all the required documents and information are submitted correctly. Hamad further clarified that the standard for registration is not limited to enclosed garages. The requirements for a garage permit was first introduced on 13th April 2013 with amendments to the road vehicle registration rules. The main objective of amending this regulation is to regulate vehicle imports more effective and minimize unregulated parking. The four-wheeler import permit application can be submitted through the Ministry online portal. Application forms for this service are available for download on the Ministry's website as well as the Ministry's reception desk. The Ministry of Tourism and Environment has officially handed over the operation and maintenance of the hazardous waste and chemical storage center in Addu City to the Waste Management Corporation Limited. The Addu City Interim Hazardous Waste and Chemical Storage Facility is a joint initiative between the Ministry of Tourism and the Environment and United Nations Development Programme, supported by the Global Environment Facility as part of the Eliminating Persistent Organic Pollutants through Sound Management of Chemicals project. The main objective of the facility is to provide temporary storage for hazardous wastes and chemicals generated from islands within the Addu zone in accordance with waste management regulations and environmental standards. This includes hazardous waste from industrial activities, chemicals from school laboratories, engine fuels, and discarded batteries. The handover agreement was signed by Deputy Minister of Tourism and Environment Ahmad Nizam on behalf of the ministry, while WEMCO's Managing Director Mujtaba Jalil signed on behalf of the corporation. Mujtaba Jalil, speaking at the signing ceremony, said the initiative undertaken together with the Ministry of Environment will assist in achieving important objectives. He stated that the centre will ensure the safe and secure storage of hazardous materials in a safe manner that does not pose a risk or inconvenience to the public. Deputy Minister Ahmad Nizam noted that under the agreement signed, special training programs will be conducted for WEMCO employees who will be involved in the operation of the Addo City Interim Hazardous Waste and Chemical Storage Facility. Nizam said the ministry has also provided some equipment required to run the centre. The Ministry of Environment said the facility is expected to contribute to environmental pollution prevention and public health protection in compliance with national waste management strategies, as well as the fulfillment of obligations under the Basel and Stockholm Conventions and the establishment of sustainable hazardous waste management facilities. Due to the limited volume of hazardous waste generated in the Maldives, the establishment of a full-scale hazardous waste disposal center in the Maldives is neither technically nor economically viable. Therefore, the Addo Center is designed as a temporary waste storage center where hazardous waste will be safely collected, separated, and temporarily stored. The waste stored will be exported abroad for environmentally responsible recycling or disposal in line with international treaties such as the Basel Convention. A standard operations procedure has also been developed for the safe handling, packaging, and transport of various types of waste. The Ministry of Tourism and Environment issues a final extension to registered travel agencies, granting them until 2 p.m. on 31st July to submit their annual reports. The move comes in response to widespread non-compliance with the original June 30th deadline as stipulated by the Maldives 20 travel agency regulation. Under the current regulatory framework, licensed travel agencies are required to file an annual report detailing the previous year's operations with the ministry by 30th June. Failure to meet the deadline may result in the revocation of operational licenses. The ministry acknowledged that a substantial number of providers had missed the original cutoff. In light of these lapses, the ministry authorized a final grace period and stated clearly that submissions received after 2 p.m. on 31st July will not be accepted. Any travel agency failing to comply by the revised deadline, according to the ministry, will face immediate revocation of its license to conduct travel agency services. Reinstatement will require a fresh application and approval under the ministry's standard licensing procedures. The Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Information and Arts extends the deadline for submissions to the Civil Society Award, a prestigious national honor recognizing exemplary voluntary contributions made by registered organizations in support of community development across the country.
The application window, first announced on the 28th of May, was set to close on the 10th of July. The ministry has since confirmed that submissions will be accepted until 1 p.m. on the 17th of July, providing additional time for eligible organizations to complete the process. The Civil Society Award is structured across 9 categories, each reflecting a distinct area of societal advancement and cultural heritage. Among these is the protection and empowerment of women, children, and youth, highlighting initiatives that safeguard rights and foster personal and communal development. Contributions within the disability sector are also recognized with particular attention to programs promoting equitable access and inclusion. Educational advancement features prominently, celebrating efforts that enhance learning and academic achievement. Alongside this is the preservation of craftsmanship, honoring organizations dedicated to sustaining traditional skills and supporting artisanal innovation. Maldivian cultural continuity forms another category, encompassing the protection of local customs, historical legacies, and the Divihi language. Innovation is addressed through the revitalization of the arts and the evolution of the information and communication technology or ICT sector. Environmental stewardship is acknowledged through projects aimed at safeguarding the natural landscape. Public health initiatives are recognized for improving societal well-being, while the final category addresses narcotics prevention, commending programs that mitigate drug-related harm and reinforce community resilience. Eligibility for the award is confined to registered civil society organizations. To qualify, applicants must have submitted their annual reports to the Registrar of NGOs within the designated time frame over the past 2 consecutive years. Organizations must also have steering committees whose terms remain valid at the time of submission. Applications may be submitted at the ministry's counter at the Maldives Center for Social Education or electronically via email to awards@youth.gov.mv. Required forms are available for download from the ministry's official website.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz says he will work intensively with French President Emmanuel Macron and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to resolve the escalating trade war with the United States. Germany's Chancellor Merz told German broadcaster ARDC, quote, "I discussed this intensively over the weekend with both Macron and Ursula von der Leyen," unquote, adding that he had also spoken with US President Donald Trump about the matter. Trump threatened to impose a 30% tariff on imports from Mexico and the European Union starting on August 1st after weeks of negotiations with the major US trading partners failed to reach a comprehensive trade deal. Merz said the German economy would be hit hard by the tariffs and he was doing his best to make sure US tariffs of 30% were not imposed. Merz further added that unity in Europe and a sensible dialogue with the American president were now needed, although countermeasures should not be ruled out. When asked if he would go along with counter tariffs as proposed by France, Merz said, quote, "Yes, but not before August 1st, unquote. Frankfurt market analysts are expecting some market uncertainty and volatility when trading starts on Monday after US President Donald Trump's latest salvo surprised the bloc by announcing a 30% tariff on European goods from August.
Karsten Brzezinski, global head of macro at ING, said Trump's move, if enacted, could potentially push Europe back close to a recession. Brzezinski told Reuters over Zoom that is clearly a scenario Europe should try to avoid. There are calls for some quarters for Europe to take a hard stance, but says Brzezinski, a fully fledged trade war benefits no one. Brzezinski says there are some options at the EU's disposal, with options to reduce tariffs on US goods in some areas and to increase purchases in others.
I wouldn't even know whether the August 1st deadline is really an extremely hard deadline or whether it's not also a flexible deadline, because in the end, no one wins trade wars. They only know losers. But if the European Union was to retaliate after August 1st, I think they would first come with tariffs on US goods. They would probably come up with a very gradual implementation of retaliation measures. I don't think that the European Union would really go all in terms of imposing tariffs on US services, because the European Union knows that, yes, it is in a position of strength, but at the same time, the European economy is still in a very fragile state, and that starting a trade war right now would clearly dent this very tentative recovery we're currently experiencing in Europe.
Until August 1st, Brzezinski says there is unlikely to be significant drops in the markets, as they will likely choose to follow the idea that a deal will be found in time.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi meets his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Beijing ahead of a meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's foreign ministers in China. Russian Foreign Ministry said in a statement issued that Wang and Lavrov discussed their relations with the United States and the prospects for ending the war in Ukraine. China and Russia declared a no-limits partnership in February 2022 when Putin visited Beijing days before he sent tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine. Putin has sometimes described China as an ally. The US casts China as its biggest competitor and Russia as its biggest nation-state threat. In recent times, US President Trump has expressed dissatisfaction with Putin as talks on Ukraine continue to be tough. While US and China have a very public trade war this year, China and Russia are also both founding members of expanding BRICS bloc along with global powerhouse India. Cole Palmer produced a scintillating first-half masterclass as Chelsea demolishes a flat Paris Saint-Germain 3-0 to win a one-sided Club World Cup final at New Jersey's MetLife Stadium. The English attacking midfielder scored twice and provided an assist for João Pedro in a devastating display in a revamped tournament's decider that left the Europeans and French champions, who finished with 10 men, shell-shocked. After a stunning season, PSG were heavy favourites, while Chelsea arrived in the US after winning Europe's third-tier Conference League and on the back of a domestic campaign in which they just managed a top-4 Premier League finish. Prior to the match, Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca said he was expecting a game of chess against a PSG coach Luis Enrique. But what transpired was a quick checkmate for the Italian, who gave a tactical masterclass. Chelsea, who won the 2021 Club World Cup in its previous format, struck first in the 22nd minute when PSG fullback Nuno Mendes gifted possession to Malo Gusto. While his initial efforts was blocked by Mendes, Gusto collected the rebound and found Palma unmarked in the middle, and the midfielder made no mistake, slotting a tidy finish just inside the left post. Palma doubled the lead after 30th minute cooling break with a goal of sublime quality. Latching onto a precise through ball from Levi Colville, he cut inside before faking a pass to dummy a defender and firing into the bottom left corner. Palma then turned provider, running up the channel before finding João Pedro, who took the ball in his stride and beat the offside trap before chipping his finish beautifully over keeper. PSG's misery was completed when João Neves was sent off for pulling Marc Cucurella's hair in the 83rd minute, as PSG's player grew in frustration as the match progressed. The encounter turned ill-tempered at the end, with players going at each other after the final whistle, but the flare-ups quickly dissipated as Chelsea's player went to celebrate with their fans. Maresca's team employed a relentless high press and emulate the tactics used by Brazilian outfit Botafogo, who had beaten PSG 1-0 in the group stage and were the only team to score against Luis Enrique's side in the previous 8 games. Their press caused PSG all sorts of trouble, and when Maresca's side couldn't regain possessions, they sat deep, frustrating the European champions, who were unable to play their usual game. The direct and pacey football we had become used to seeing from PSG was Chelsea's game on Sunday, with Palma, Gusto and João Pedro picking apart the PSG defense, especially on the left side. Other than the early golden opportunity for PSG's Desire Do that was wasted, the first half was all Chelsea's, and after they opened their 3-goal lead, the French side could never recover. That concludes news for now. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.